What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the remote front office. Today it is Monday, finals week here. We are officially down to our final two teams. So today we are going to cover a little bit about the games. But I also kind of want to cover. I know we don't normally do a whole lot of this, but I do want to cover a little bit of the betting props as we get into this first game here. Before we get into that, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We are uploading 2 times a week on this channel. Once we hit a little bit more of the dead season, we'll go to 1 time a week. But up through now, at least through the draft for sure, we'll do the live stream over on the TikTok channel. Potentially YouTube. We'll see if I can get that actually set up this year. I know we struggled to get it set up last year. But we'll have that covered. We'll have any sort of reactions to free agency, whether it happens. And then obviously once there's big blockbuster trades, we'll have that as well. But so for today, I kind of want to open up with a little bit of the betting props as I've been kind of looking through stuff today. A couple of interesting things. So I noticed that Dallas is plus 200 to win game one. I think that's interesting just because I think that um, if anything, I think Boston splits at home. I don't see the series going 2-0, whether it is Dallas wins game one or Dallas wins game two. I just don't see that necessarily being the case. Also, another thing to note is that the Celtics are 6.5 point favorites. I think these games are going to be close. I understand this is now a very big shooting variance league, so if you have good 3-point percentage, I think that obviously that's going to result in a lot of blowouts, one way or another, as we saw in just the Pacers series and kind of just in random games in general this year, right? We had some of the Eastern Conference games with the Knicks where they shot really well and they won by 15, and then there was games they didn't shoot well, they lost by 15, right? It was just kind of it's been one of those years, at least the last couple of years, where I feel like the 3-point shooting variance has become more of a factor as far as point spread goes. But I think getting Dallas at plus 6.5 isn't bad because A, the game could be close, and B, if Dallas wins, then you're covered. Also, another interesting thing is the over and under opened up at 214. Um, for the Celtics Pacers series, it was a lot easier to take that over, just because you knew that Indiana's going to play at such a high tempo, as well as I just feel like that their defense wasn't as consistent, and so it allowed for, especially the games where Tyrese was in, because they really pushed the tempo when Halliburton's in. It was really easy to take those overs. Uh, this series, I probably won't take an over under until games 2 through 4. I think that's normally when I start to take over unders. The one time I did take over unders was the Denver Minnesota series because game 7 you always bet the under unless it's like a 180 or something like that. You always bet the under. The only reason that didn't work in the what was that game 7, the Pacers Knicks series, is because the Pacers shot like 70% from the field. There's also another one for there's Luka 45-point games. There's Luka 50-point games. Those are plus 1,000 and plus 2,000. I don't think those will happen. I trust Boston's defense a little too much for that. There's also ones for the um, Finals MVP. Tatum, as of right now, is the only one with negative odds. Luka is not too bad, plus 200, but I think that's more so in line with Dallas winning the series. I did take a bet because I think it was plus 190 for Dallas to just outright win the series. So I took those odds just kind of as a backup, and then I'll obviously game to game. It'll kind of help with that. But as of right now, for Finals MVP, Tatum's minus 120, Luka is plus 200, and then you have Jaylen Brown at plus 200 and Kyrie's plus 2,000. Obviously, I think for Finals MVP, I think it comes down to the main two guys. I think it's Tatum or Luka, just depending on who wins. I think the reason Brown's getting so much love is because he won Eastern Conference Finals MVP, and so that kind of, I think swayed a little bit of it there. But as far as like the actual series goes, I've kind of sat here and listened to a couple of things here and there. And the first question is, it seems like people want Brown on Kyrie more than I initially expected. I personally am more of the camp of you start Brown on Luka and you let Holiday and White guard Kyrie. And then maybe once it comes to closing time, Tatum switches onto Luka, and then you have Brown move to Kyrie, right? I think that just kind of makes the most sense in my mind, just because I would rather have I don't want Tatum guarding Luka for the full 4 quarters, right? I think that's just a lot to ask for him to be the number one option on offense and defense. I think it just puts a lot on him. I do feel like the best way to guard Luka, obviously, size, they have to have strength. That's why I understand the idea of Drew a little bit, but it's just the size thing I think is where that kind of gets messy. I won't be surprised though if Porzingis or Horford, whoever is the starter, I would expect them to probably guard PJ Washington most likely. I don't know if it'll be Derek Jones, but I think that Boston's going to try and take away this pick and roll so much that it's either going to be Holiday or it's going to be Derek White on Derek Lively to start the games. Um, and then maybe they switch that to maybe where it's Tatum's guarding Derek Lively, and so Brown and Tatum can just switch. Maybe that's what they end up doing at one point. But I feel like there's going to be a lot more switching in this series than there was in the Minnesota series, just because I think that Boston's going to force the whoever's in the corners to shoot more often, unless it's Kyrie. But B, I think they're going to put such an emphasis on the pick and roll that Minnesota didn't have by the drop coverage. I think they're going to try and take the center out of the drop coverage, and they're going to try and make Luka a little more uncomfortable by not having it be the normal screen setter of Derek Lively or Daniel Gafford, and have it be a PJ Washington or have it be a Derek Jones Jr. Or I doubt they do a whole lot of inverted Luka Kyrie pick and rolls, but I could see it maybe if Kyrie's on a hot streak and you're trying to get like if he's got Jaylen Brown on him, right? But then you have Jrue Holiday on Luka. Maybe he wants to switch and he feels a little more comfortable with that matchup. As far as the Boston offense goes, I'm assuming that PJ Washington is getting the Tatum assignment. That's just my guess. And then it's just really difficult to figure out where to put Luka and Kyrie because Luka can defend in spots, but again, I don't want him to have to defend for a full 48. And then also Kyrie's good. He's just not an A plus defender, right? So I'm assuming that one of them, if not both of them, are on Derek White and Jrue Holiday. Personally, I would put Luka on Jrue Holiday, and I know Drew's looked better this postseason, but we had in the Bucks the last couple of years, right, where you would have a Jrue Holiday game where he goes 6 for 20, where he goes 4 for 18 or whatever, right? I think that's what you're banking on. You want Boston to have more of that situation, right? If KP's back, you don't want it to be KP. You don't want it to be Tatum. Brown's looked really good. You don't want it to be him. And Derek White's just shooting lights out, right? So I think by default, kind of, you want the offense to get more Drew centric than anything else. Another big thing for Dallas, I know I'm kind of all over the place. It's just thoughts as I'm thinking here. Is the go ahead passes. You've got to throw them regularly, right? You don't want having Boston be able to get set up and be able to talk it out defensively in the half court, right? You want to throw the get ahead stuff. You want to push the tempo and kind of get them out in transition, right? I know Luka's gotten better at it, but I just don't want it to be the finals, his first finals, and he kind of defaults back to old habits, right? I expect Kyrie to help this team out a lot, right? He's been in the finals. He's been in these situations. He knows what it takes to win a championship and what it takes to go against a really good team, right? So I kind of want Kyrie to be a little more vocal in this series. I want Kyrie to take over a little bit more. I know he did a pretty good job of that the last series, but I don't want to go back to the OKC situation, right, where he was under 20 points a game, was really kind of passive and didn't really look to go for his own, right? Obviously, if you've got, the Tim Hardaway Jr., or you've got Jaden Hardy, any of these guys, if they are finding their rhythm, sure, be passive. But I want, especially when Luka comes out for his 3-minute stretches or however long they end up being in the series, I want Kyrie to be like, nope, this is my team. This is what I need to do to get us to this next level, right? As far as just Boston in general goes, I kind of want to see. I know the shots are going to come where it's 10 seconds on the shot clock and Tatum shoots the sidestep 3, right? It's going to happen. He's going to slow dribble it out. He's going to shoot a 3, and it's just going to happen. I want to see more of the attacking the basket, right? I know that Gafford and Lively both had really good blocks against Minnesota, but I think with the spacing, it's going to be a little more difficult for them to be in good position to get those blocks and not commit a foul when it's Porzingis in the corner or it's Horford in the corner or, they're in that 5-out set. I wouldn't be surprised if for stretches again, because I kind of want Luka on Drew Holiday, but maybe if they switch it up and have Luka on the big and then have whoever the center is on Drew Holiday, right? Make him shoot again. It's really just a lot of making Drew shoot, and kind of that's the best case scenario against this offense, right? But I do want to see more of in that 5-out spacing, Tatum get downhill, Brown get downhill, Derek White with the quick one more pass that he makes all the time, right? The Drew Holiday connective pass again, one more. If Porzingis gets a mismatch where maybe he has a Kyrie on him, or maybe he gets Luka a couple of times a game, just try and post him up and see how it works, right? Obviously, because he's not Rudy Gobert. I trust Porzingis more in the post than I do Rudy Gobert. And I kind of just want to see, as far as the mismatch hunting, how often is it a pick and roll to get the mismatch hunting? How often is it swing, your turn, right? Just kind of those small things as far as trying to figure out who's guarding what and trying to get that mismatch. Because obviously you're going to want to hunt Luka when it comes down to crunch time. But how do you get set up into that? Is it a screen? Is it ISO? Is it pin down screen? Like, what is the method here? The one thing I will say is I am curious to see Jason Kidd on this stage. I like the coaching adjustments he's made this year, but I do just kind of want to see what's his adjustments like on the big stage, right? Because he got there as a player, but he hasn't been there as a coach, as well as Joe Mazzulla too. I'm curious to see exactly what his adjustments are, what his thought processes are, and if maybe he kind of talks with Brad Stevens about how to coach on this stage, when to call the right timeouts, this, that, and third, right? How many minutes a game should these guys be playing? Do you ramp them? Do you start them at 37 to 40? Or do you start straight at 40 to 42 and just keep going and Tibbs it, right? And say, we've got the best starting 5 in the current NBA, run them. I mean, obviously, I'm assuming that Porzingis is going to have a minutes restriction because this is his first set of games in 5 to 6 weeks if he starts the series. And especially if it's Al Horford out there, I don't really want Al Horford playing a bunch of minutes against Luka and Kyrie, because I think it's just going to be a mismatch hunt every time, right? Luka's going to find Al Horford no matter where he is and say, you're coming here and you're going to play defense. Well, Kyrie's going to do the same thing. So I think I would hope Porzingis can play 30 to 35 minutes a game to start out and kind of see where it goes. But I think Boston's going to be a little more careful with him, right? So my predictions. For game 1 as of right now, I'm going to take Boston. I don't feel great about it, but I'm going to take Boston. I think Tatum has a really good game. I think they started out strong. I think they've heard everything about how easy the walk through the East was, and I think we get a 30-point game out of Tatum, and maybe like a 20-point game out of Brown. A couple of threes from Derek White. And I think it's a close game, but I think Boston pulls out. Obviously, we will have to wait and see on Porzingis. With Porzingis, it kind of is, up in the air, and it just makes the prediction a little harder. But I am going to go Boston game 1, and then we'll see about game 2. Again, it depends on how Porzingis plays, how the matchups go, and everything like that. And then we will have game 2 predictions on the Friday episode. So drop your guys' predictions down below in the comments, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.